I'm doing something different because it's free time. And I just thought it was interesting to do. I'm gonna make a tier list for new players on Genshin because I'm not by no means a pro or even theory crafter. Let me fix that for a sec. I've shown the links. Credit there. I feel like there's characters that do well in areas that others don't, and for new players, I think it's a very overwhelming thing coming into Genshin Impact because of how many characters and regions there are, as well as collectibles. I was looking at the interactive map, at least the unofficial one I was using. I was using the official one, but the unofficial one I barely used, and there's so much stuff on there. It just got me thinking, like, okay, how can we narrow down everything? Because you've got all the characters to worry about, and then you've got all this stuff to collect. So anyway, get on to the thing. I'm not going to do it in any order, I'm just going to do it based on the characters I see. So I start with ones who are great for new players. To be honest, I put Barbara and... No, fuck it. I'll do both of them at once, actually. Makes sense. Barbara's actually a good character in co-op because you can heal your entire team up to full very easily. She's been a pretty good unit for me, myself personally. Especially in co-op lobbies where it just goes on forever. Because sometimes players don't have the damage check, although most should anyway. I tend to volunteer being, co-op games anyway. But Barbara's just really good, especially with the prototype Amber. But yeah, she's definitely worth getting. Not necessarily as a 4-star healer, but she's good for your team anyway as well. Not the best, but it's just a catch really. She's only good for co-op and like selfish healing, I guess you call it, because she needs to attack to heal. Next one, official. I think she's great with a catch because she's a good electro sub DPS who ties in more with either Hydro or Dendro related reactions later on. She synergizes well with some characters, and she's definitely worth building, even if you don't use her all the time. She's only a sub DPS though, which is the catch, and she's also kind of a selfish damage dealer. Her skill is pretty selfless, but the ultimate can be a bit selfish, but you can switch off that quickly. Next is Diluc. I'm putting him great with a catch, he's the first 5-star here, but he's on the standard banner, or if you lose pity, don't roll on standard banner by the way. It's a waste of primo gems, roll on the limited banner, and is a good character. Yeah, but he's basically one of these characters that's sort of good if you know how to build him. He's good in the long run. I've used him for years, and he's still quite reliable, even with characters buffing him. He's also got a very simple kit, like skill, 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 does damage, and his ultimate does damage, and he also keeps his pyro infusion. So he's essentially like a pseudo catalyst user. Catalyst users being elemental types only when they do normal attack damage or charge or whatever. There's a lot of niche stuff like that. I forget to talk about weapons, but there's quite a few weapons for Diluc anyway. If you somehow end up with a Wolf's Gravestone, that is best slot still, but weapon banners are generally a scam, just being honest there. But he's definitely worth building if you're early on. He'll definitely demolish content. Next is Bennet. Bennet's great. He's always been good. He basically buffs, and if you equip him with the Noblesse Oblige artifacts and a weapon with a high base attack, because he only scales off base attack for his burst, he's really good. He has trouble generating pyro particles sometimes, so he's best paired with a pyro character like Diluc, for example, or Xianling. I'll bring up later on. He hasn't got too many weapons, unfortunately, I don't think. Basically, he fills the role of healer and buffer. can be a bit detrimental if you're OCD like me. I do struggle sometimes, so it's that. He's good. He's definitely worth building. He's still pretty universal now. And next will be, I'm only going to have characters I know that I've seen played or played myself. I'm not sure about putting Xingqiu anywhere, because she is niche. She's basically Diluc but with a teleporting skill. So I'd have to put her on the bottom end of great with a catch. She does well with quicker reactions, which is a recent thing that she got buffed with that. She's also a standard banner character. Her burst is pretty insane, it's got a cool animation. Yeah. There's not much to say about her really. She's quite bit more fast paced than other characters. I think she's best with Dendro reactions. Next is Xianling, 100% build her. The only sub DPS pyro that we've got at the moment, other than Dia, but she's not that great. But Xianling is just insane, especially with a weapon like the catch, which is free to play because you can just fish it, but it is time gated, unfortunately. Yeah, there's not much to say about it. Her skill's quite a priority because you need to generate energy particles, and the burst just does a lot of damage, especially with fake reactions. So that's Pyro and Hydro. Next will be Xingqiu, great for new players as well. He's stood the test of time quite well, even though he doesn't do damage numbers like some of the newer characters. He's still good early on, because he provides a damage resistance buff, I think, with one of his ascensions. His skill is simple to use. If you use Sacrificial Sword, you'll get its burst in no time. But sometimes you can substitute it for like a more powerful weapon like crit rate, like I don't know, there's like a power pass weapon called the Wolf Fang. That works well on him, I think. And yeah, his burst is quite simple, just summon swords that deals hydro damage. A lot of the other characters were simple. And next character, it's a tough one. I'm probably not going to put Diane in there. I'll speak about that later. Zhongli, great for new players. Zhongli's good anywhere except for Inazuma, because he just blocks every single bit of damage and he's so easy to build as well. He only needs a 3-star weapon called the White Tassel. Basically it's a HP substat. He also only needs HP artifacts, so it's very easy to build. His skill, if you press it, it does damage. It's not worth doing the press damage from. But if you hold it, you get a shield. And that makes it more worth it. It's an insanely strong shield. He's been so good for years. Even now. Like I'm even using him now actually in 4.8. That's this thingy. Yeah, strongly recommend it. His burst as well is quite good. It's a crowd control debuff, so it gives you time to react and stuff. Prepare. Just stuns them, petrifies them. Next character is probably going to be. I'll explain why I skipped Garnu. I'm actually going to put Hu Tao up there. I don't like her as a character, I'll be honest. The reason I put her there is because she's pretty easy to build. I think she scales off HP and just does insane damage. And her burst is basically a self-heal, because her skill takes away health from her. So she infuses her power with pyro, and she does a lot of damage, basically. But her burst will heal her, especially if she's low. It seems pretty good to build her, to be honest. The next character, I've mentioned she's 5-star, I forget. Somebody's 5-star, who tells 5-star, we should show that. Next is Kazuza. Surprisingly, I'm going to put him in great for new players. He's a 5-star. His skill is basically a Venti's burst. If you don't know, Venti is the Archon of anime. His burst basically drags in enemies and keeps him in place. But Kazuha can do that with his skill, which is insane. I think you only need to press it to get a buff as well, an elemental mastery buff, and his burst does the same thing, except for not dragging them in, it just infuses an AoE effect with whatever elements infused with the animo. But you can also drag in loot as well when that drops from enemies, so it makes it easier to collect. He's extremely valuable, and I think I might actually put him above Bennet for that matter. He serves players well, especially in like even danger reaction teams like Quicken, Aggravate, because of his elemental mastery buff, and he's also very FTP friendly to build because you only need to put EM on everything. I think it will be a challenge to get EM on the artifacts main stats because they're very rare still. But as you go along the game, you'll probably get them anyway. Especially common though, and like older relics like 3 and 4 stars. But yeah, he's worth building. Yeah, Yomiya, next 5 star. Very on the fence about her. Like, I think she does good pyro damage, much better than Diluc. Not as good as Hu Tao though. She's FTP friendly for the most part. I've seen videos of her demolishing content as FTP account. She's got a good choice of weapons, I think, especially now with Fontaine. I think there needs to be an updated guide for her. Could be wrong. I think it exists. She's pretty strong, and especially with like hydro reactions and even overloaded. Which we'll probably go into later. But she's a bow user, I forget to mention weapon types. She attacks from range. The only problem is her bursts are very good. It's a bit finicky, and if you're using an artifact set like the Shimano something, I forgot the name of it, last name. It's pretty strong on her. She can stand herself on her own pretty well, even without buffs. She ties in well with, I think, Kazuha because of the elemental mastery. Elemental mastery seems to buff pretty much every reaction, as far as I know. Yeah, she's kind of worth getting, but with a catch. That's why she's there. The next one will be So, 4 star, Claymore, Animo. She's pretty strong. I've been using her to explore content as I've been leveling her up and stuff, because I need to use her for endgame content. She's pretty strong, and she has good FTP choices. I can't remember how you build her artifacts, but I think it's her healing bases off of attack, if I remember correctly. She's quite strong in that aspect, but the reason why you should probably get her is because her burst is like a pseudo Bennet burst. It gives you a healing effect, and it also can buff you, I think. If I read it correctly, I have a document with like, not document, Excel sheet of what the characters do, basically in summary. She's good, but that isn't the reason you want to pull her. The reason you want to pull her is because of her fucking skill. She has what is one of the most insane traversal skills in the game. Up there with a later character called Wanderer, which I won't put in the great list because he's very niche. Although he is fun, he's just niche. But she's very good at travelling around, and that's a good reason to use her and build her. Even if you're an old account, it's definitely worth it. But that's so. Next is Raiden Shogun. I think she's good. To be honest, she's better than Kishin by far. 5 star pole on Electro. She's got good FTP options as well, and even then, like, you've got standard banner weapons and stuff, which are really good as well. She's fairly easy to build, she just needs energy recharge and I think crit, if I remember correctly. Her skill basically does electro sub DPS damage, so like visual basically. I think it lasts longer though. And a burst does damage based on the amount of ultimates that the team has used. So if you use 6, that's the cap I think. It increases the ultimate damage, which is pretty insane. Also, she can be a selfish DPS as well. Like, the term selfish and selfless, by the way, means like on field versus off field. She needs to be on field to neutralise her burst to the max, but she can be a main DPS usually because of the burst. And she's great for overloaded and I think aggravate quicken reaction teams. Hyper Bloom actually, I keep forgetting to mention that's one of the advanced ones. I was confused about Hyper Bloom for a long time, but it basically means Dendro meets Hydro, and then the seeds that spawn from that need to meet Electro, and that creates Hyper Bloom, and that is the most amount of damage you can do in the game from a reaction. So it's a 3-step process. And the next one, I'm actually going to put a character here that I haven't used, haven't got. Great with a catch, yeah. I forgot her name, Kokomi? I don't know, jellyfish, I do call her. She's got good healing application and off-field damage application, kind of, Hydro application. She's very niche, but she heals and does a bit of damage from time to time. There's definitely a big catch with her though. It's definitely not worth rolling her. She's a 5-star Hydro Catalyst user. The only reason I put her there is because as a healer, she's pretty decent, even in co-op. But that Hydro application can be very useful sometimes. She's basically like a sub DPS in a way. Yeah, she's good with a catch. I'm tempted to put her in niche, but she can be good in the long run. Let's skip Halo because she's still garbage. I'm just putting her there to get her out of the way. Next character. Oh, this is a tough one actually. Because these are the Inazuma characters. Because these are all fairly good to an extent. We go with a catch, yeah. She's basically an inferior Raiden Shogun, except her skill charges her ultimate damage. She's a Electro 5-star Catalyst. Her skill summons 3 turrets, which actually go away over time, unfortunately. It deals electro damage off field, so great for danger and overloaded reactions and stuff. I think Hyper Bloom she even works with. She's quite FTP friendly to build as well, if I recall. I do have her. And her burst does damage based on the amount of turrets that are on the field at the time of the burst, and it replenishes the turrets, so you can put all 3 of them back immediately after doing that. Which is a bit niche in a sense, because she's not the best off-field electro applicator. So that's what I'll say on her. It's like, it's your choice, but she's a fox basically, so that's why I like her. Ayato, I'll do with a catch, because he's very bizarre. He's got good Hydro application damage, and he can be good off-field as well, because his burst is off-field Hydro damage. He's a 5-star sword Hydro character. Tall player models, I keep forgetting to mention, like, tall player models are superior because they run faster. So like Raiden, Zhongli, Diluc, I think he is a tall one, and Ayato obviously is here. Ayato is good at doing Hydro reactions, quick amount of time, but he is a selfish DPS. His skill has I wouldn't say a long cooldown, but it's like 10-12 seconds. Not actually a bit longer. Like when it reaches 4.5 and his cooldown, then that's the end of his Hydro infusion on his sword. So he needs to do damage in that time, and he works with like Xianling, I think Cookie Shinobu, and even Hyper Bloom teams. only worth sort of rolling on if you really, really need a 5-star Hydra character, but I don't recommend him for quite a few reasons, because there's characters later on that just do so much better. Also, I'll explain them. Next is Xianling, great for new players. Close my window. Xianling has just been valuable. She's a 5-star Hydro bow user. She's basically Xingqiu, but a bit better, because her skill allows her to run a bit faster and slower, I think. Obviously, she does damage with that, as does Soyo, I forgot to mention that. She's not as fast as Soyo, in terms of like time that you can be in skillful. Like, she's a bit quicker than Soyo, like, in terms of the amount of time you get with the skill. I don't know how to explain it. Like, Soyo you can go for about 10 seconds. Xianling is about 5 or 6. It's not very long, but burst is Xingqiu's burst basically. And she also applies a damage buff to your team, so you got that instead of like a defensive utility. She works really well with Yoimiya. For some reason they've synergized quite well. Not 100% sure why. But she's definitely worth it as like a sub DPS. But there is a character that's better at that later on, which I'll go into. Yeah, so next is Shinobu, and I think I'll put her great for catch. She's a good field electro applicator, a bit like Raiden, whatever you call her. She's a 4-star sword electro user. She's a medium body type. We say tall, medium, and short because they have different uses and different basically different running speeds they will have. Tall is the fastest, medium slower, but short is just slowest. And we don't say like adult or even child because that's inaccurate in terms of law. That explains that. But Cookie is a healer, an off-field one. Unfortunately, she doesn't heal the entire team, but she is good at danger applications, stuff like that, because of her electro off-fieldness. I don't know how to explain it. She doubles as a healer as well, and her burst is basically a damaging burst. She's very niche though, having said that. It's almost like she belongs here. Only put her here because as a 4-star healer, she's semi-decent for like a danger reaction team. Yeah. Next. I'm actually surprised I'm going to put Tainari at the top here. I actually still think he's king of Dendro damage, I'm not gonna lie. Even though I haven't used him in a long time. The reason I put him up there is because as a standard banner character, he's really strong. Even without the 5-star bow that essentially he needs, but he doesn't need actually. 5-star Dendro bow user, his skill, his kit is a bit weird, but it's really fun. Basically, when you use this skill, he throws like a Dendro grenade that explodes. That's it. But what it does is it gives you a buff where you can quick fire your arrows, and you have 3 of them. So you just hold it for like half a second, and it charges it to this like quick fire bow thing with like multiple arrows. So it's pretty cool. And you can only do that 3 times every 10 or 12 seconds. I remember the skill cooldown. But his burst is basically firing a bunch of arrows at once. So he's really good in that aspect. I still think he's one of the best ranged Dendro DPS characters. Main DPS for that matter. He's not worth rolling on, but obviously he's a standard banner character, so if you lose pity to him, he's definitely worth building. Because he'll have uses eventually. His only drawback is that he's single target locked. So I really only recommend building him for like bosses and stuff. And aerial targets, but he's really useful. basically a better Ganyu. Ganyu has a similar sort of gimmick. Like a lot of the bow characters actually have a gimmick. The charge attack. But Tonari's one is especially good. So yeah. Next will be Collei. 4-star bow user, Dendro. She's good with a catch, and I think that's only because she does okay damage, not the best. She has a way to go, in a sense. I haven't actually used her myself that much. She definitely has a good solo DPS option if you're free to play, or don't have any other 4-star or even 5-star Dendro characters. She's good. I forgot what her skill does. I think she just throws something. But her burst is basically an off-field Dendro applicator for a brief few seconds, I think. Not the best, but she'll do for like a team like Fisher or Yomiko. Yeah, that's all I've got to say on her. Next will be. Ooh. I'll put Nikita next, and I think great with a catch. It's a weird one, I think, because I was debating this when I was thinking of making this tier list. She's good for off-field Dendro application, much better than Collei actually, so I'll put her above, even though it's not really in order. She's strong because of the damage numbers she does, and she's basically a area of effect character without the area of effects. Like, you don't need to drop them in. She's got a really unique kit. As a Dendro 5-star catalyst user, she's. I don't know if I actually want to spoil the story, to be honest. Nah. But she's pretty strong, to put it simply. Her skill can collect stuff in the overworld from a distance, but a limited amount, unfortunately. If you hold it, that is. If you hold it against enemies, then you can basically link them all together and do damage to all 5 of them at once, because I think the limit is 5, if I'm not mistaken. And you could do aggravate, burning, or whatever damage. She's really good for that. And her burst basically gives you an elemental buff, and I think that's also. I think it gives you a specific buff based on the element that you're using in that, I think. My memory's a bit foggy on her because I haven't used it for a long time. But she's still pretty good, pretty decent. Let's go. Next character. I'm actually a bit unsure here. There's like Farah's on here, which I'm tempted to put there. That's great with a catch, but then again, animal damage users are not very good anymore. Being honest, that's why I wonder if I'd be there. Next, I could do Baizu, great for new players. It's really simple. He's basically a Dendro 5-star catalyst, and he's basically Zhongli, but a bit better in some ways, but also a bit worse in other ways. I don't think there's any catch with him, to be honest, though. His skill is pretty simple. He heals with it. He does Dendro damage to enemies, so he's great for like reaction, proccing teams and stuff. But his burst gives him a shield that also attacks and regenerates every few seconds, which is pretty insane. So it does stop interruption to an extent, which is one of the benefits of Zhongli. I forgot to mention that. He's also a tool character, so he's got that benefit. He also has one of the best story quests in the game, I think, as did Tonari. So it's pretty good, to be honest. Yeah, I just really like him as a character. There's not much to say about him, like, he's just good. It's definitely worth relying on. Next, I would put Kira. She's basically budget Baizu. Her skill does the shield instead, based on how many enemies you attack, and her burst does dendro damage. She's a dendro sword user, 4-star. So she's just basically a mix between Baizu and Collei, but budget. I think she's good, and her skill also has the unique effect of being able to climb up walls. So on top of having a sort of speed bonus with her skill, if you hold it as, because she turns into a delivery cat thing, you have to see it for yourself. She climbs up walls, which is insane. That's pretty much unheard of, even now, and like on whole patch later, major patch, I mean. Yeah, she's pretty good. Now we get onto the Fontaine characters, which are really interesting. So, I'm gonna put Nuevilette here as the best character you can roll for. I was really on the fence about him when he first came out. Like, really on the fence, because three of us didn't have a good track record with the previous characters. Seriously, they're just fucking niche and just didn't make sense. But Nuevilette changed it. He became one of the best DPS ever in the game. That's insane. It's pretty much unheard of. And not only that, he's pretty easy to build free to play. He's a 5-star Hydro Catalyst user. His skill creates these bubbles which charges during a charge attack. You need 3 of them each charge attacks, but when he does a charge attack, he summons this massive laser and you can move around. And he hovers. It's the most insane thing ever. And his burst basically does hydro damage and summons the bubbles, like 6 of them. So he's insane, especially with like an electro charge team or even Hypermoon, I think. Like, he works well with any reaction. With the exception of maybe Frozen and obviously Anima and Geo, which are long gone now. He's just really good. I can't recommend him enough. It's one of the best characters I've ever rolled on, and I'll be using him in the future. He also reacts with pretty much everything, which is insane. The only problem with like reactions is that certain shields can't be broken fast enough. Like, you can't do Electro versus Cryo, for example, because it's not the best reaction. Melters, so it's Fire versus Cryo. That's one of the big problems at the moment. Okay, next character. But I'm not sure. I was thinking of putting Wriothesley there, but I don't know enough about his kit, so I might skip him. Furina. Great for new players next to Nuevilette. Basically buffs Nuevilette. She's insane. Her kit is weird. She's a 5-star Hydro sword user. She's got quite a bit to her kit. Charge attack basically changes between new alignments, which are the Fontaine gimmicks for enemies. She changes her skill with that as well, so she could either be a sub DPS or a healer. And her skill obviously summons like minions, but one of them, it can either be damage dealers or a healer, really simply. And you can also walk on water when you do that, which is again insane. Her burst gives you a buff to your entire team. I can't remember what the buff is. I think it's an elemental damage bonus. I could be wrong. It works so well with Nuevilette. You just do insane amounts of damage. Like, my Nuevilette team, for example, is Nuevilette, Furina, Raiden, and Baizu. They just work so well together. Also, one of the drawbacks with Furina is that she drains your health of the entire team, so that's why Baizu is good. That's why I recommend Baizu, because he heals your entire team with the skill or burst. Yeah. The next one is a weird one. I think Nalvia is actually the best Geo character. very simple kit when you know what to do. She's also very FTP friendly. I've been using her. She's been doing like 250k skill damage, which is insane. That's like half a boss health bar for most bosses. Great geo application and stuff. She's a 5-star geo claymore character. Not a tall model, unfortunately. She's medium. I thought she was tall, but yeah. She's got one of the best animations too in the game. Trying to think how to explain her. Basically, skill and burst, geo infuser, claymore. Very simple. But the thing with her skill and the passive, actually, the passive needs to be explained first. She gets these shell things on screen, which for some reason are counted in odd numbers rather than even. But when she gets 11 of these, which is basically 6 of them on screen, like they start with like a sort of doll, sort of bullet shaped thing. You get 3 of them, but when you go over that amount of like 7, I think it is, they start to glow, and that means you've charged up a lot of damage. When she reaches 11 in total, and all of them are glowing, you basically unleash your full damage potential with her skill, which basically is a shotgun. Yes, a fucking shotgun. She also, these are like pellets, so each do a certain amount of damage. They all calculate together for some reason, but they all do a certain amount of damage, so if you miss, it does a different amount of damage to what you might think. Skill. Yeah, the skill is very gimmicky at times too, but she is very good. But there's a quicker way to charge it because she needs like crystal reactions and geo reactions to charge it. Also, holding her skill drags in crystallized shards, so it's like a gimmick with geo. But her burst charges it as well and does off-field geo damage. And it's one of my favourite bursts ever because it just automatically attacks enemies. There's no summon, there's no needing to move it. Like, it just goes with you. It's an insane thing. And she's just great. She's been great to my account because she could just be at most content anyway. She does need to build up and stuff, and her team's a bit gimmicky as well. I found actually Xianling, Bennet, and another Geo character to work really well. It might be different for others. It depends. I do strongly recommend her. She's pretty good. I think I'll put her probably above Kazuha. She's a great second DPS option, main DPS. She is the selfish one, I forgot to mention that. That's his Nuevilette. Yeah. Next, I'm going to have Chevreuse, and I think I'm very tempted to put her great with a catch, but she is great in general. I haven't got her yet, but she's very good according to other players and has high usage rates. She allows your team to do overloaded reactions, which generally are weak, but with her, she buffs them quite insanely. She's basically Bennet, but without like the universal damage buff. She needs to be overloaded damage. Not worth rolling on necessarily, because she is niche, and you also need like characters that can power up enemies, because overloaded reactions typically push enemies away. I can't remember her full kit, so I can't say what exactly it needs to do, but I think it is a Mara of the Burst that does the buff for overloaded reactions. I could be wrong. Yeah, she's quite good. Yeah. Yeah, she's a 4-star pyro polearm user, if I'm not mistaken. Next, I go to Xianling, but with a catch. Xianling was a really weird character, or at least, and she's still pretty weird. She's not niche, but she does enable characters to do a lot of damage, so her kit is Her skill basically generates anime particles and does damage. It's nothing special, but I think it also buffs crit rate, if I'm not mistaken, within Ascension. I say she has a 5-star anime catalyst, tall player model. But yeah, she's pretty good in that sense, but her burst is where it gets interesting. She not only heals with her burst and also does another damage buff. She allows her characters to do plunge attacks, which have the highest damage multiplier in the game for a typical attack, really. So that's when you jump off the edge and just press your attack button, it just plunges. But she enables anyone to do that, so you could do it with D-Luke, who she's best with at the moment, I think. You could do that with Hu Tao, I believe, who probably is even more insane. And she could do that with Xiao, a more gimmicky character, and she could do that with Qixing. It works really well with these selfish DPS characters with elemental infusions. She's definitely worth getting if you want a bit more of a different playstyle. She isn't necessarily worth getting just for that, really. There's different reasons to get her. Yeah, she's alright. Next, I don't know about Garmin because I've seen he's good as a pyro DPS, and also Xianling works really well with him. I think. Can't remember what sort of 4-star weapon he is. He's a 4-star character, pyro. I can't remember the weapon. Probably catalyst. He does plunge damage pretty well. His skill. I think his burst might be off-field applicator thing. Yeah, he's generally good from what I've heard. Next is Arlecchino, great with a catch. I have to put her here because her kit can be a bit annoying. I haven't played her, but I know from player experiences. People tend to run her over shoulder like Xianling because she's so easy to die with. That's why I say great with a catch. You really need to shoulder with her. The other shielders like Toma as well, like, not necessarily just Zhongli. And Toma's a 4-star. But she needs like very careful play with. She's not as strong as Hu Tao for some reason. But she does similar things. Her skill creates a bond of life thing. If you do it enough times, it'll increase her damage like by 3 times, which sounds insane, but it's not really that big. But her skill burst basically heals her, I think. She also has a pretty cool charge attack. She's also a tall character. That's all I'll say on her. Next. That's it. Okay. Right, let's quickfire these. Natlan character's not released yet. Emily, I'm not sure about, so I'll put her in niche. But there's still a lot of testing to do with her across the board. She is apparently good with burning reactions, but that's it. Yeah, the Traveller. I think the only good one he has is Dendro, and that's it. Maybe a bit of Geo, but that's it. As for other Traveller infusions, none of them at the moment. She niche, she heals. She's a 5-star standard banner, anime sword. She could pull in enemies with a skill, but it's again very niche. It's very hard to do. It's not like Kazuha. Her burst is basically quick hitting. Lisa, absolutely not. Doesn't do enough even with Dendrovos. Amber, absolutely not. Nobody uses Noel, niche. 4-star Claymore, Joe user. Can shield and heal. But also main DPS. Sucrose, Catalyst, 4-star. I don't know. She's good. I used her when I was starting out. She does good off-field anime damage. I think she groups enemies to an extent. Burst is a field animo damage thing, which can be infused. Yeah, she's been pretty good. Ordinary Niche, 5-star Talent Banner, Hydro, Catalyst. She could be built as either a sub DPS or a Nuka. A Nuka basically being insane damage numbers. Probably not, because he doesn't do as good damage as like Rosario, I'll bring it later on. Razor, probably not. He's a physical damage dealer with Electro on the side. It's not very good. Ingron, don't know enough about. Beidou, don't know enough about. Xianling, not really, because he just does cryo infusion with his skill. His burst looks cool, but that's it. GG niche, 5-star standard banner, cryo sword user. Skill I think does some sort of healing thing, or might be burst, I can't remember. She could be worth building, but only as a healer. Anti niche skill is a bit weird, just there to generate particles. Burst increases damage bonus, increases damage I mean, and that draws on enemies, lots of them in place, but you need a character that can reach them. He's a 5-star bow and bow user. Klee, absolutely not. Ever do good damage. Tartaglia, niche, 5-star, I remember bow user. He is 5-star Hydro bow user. He turns into a melee stance with his skill, which is cool. He applies a thing, I can't remember the name, does Hydro damage eventually. And his burst does a similar thing, I think. Or detonates, I think. Donor is niche, she's a shielder but very weak. She's a good healer and cryo applicator to an extent. Not as good as others, but she'll do in a pinch. And Xingqiu, I don't think she does anything. Albedo, I don't know because I don't play him, so I can't comment. Got a new niche for certain. The skill was basically a taunt, so similar to Amber. Charge attack does a AoE cryo damage thing, which can do insane damage in the right reactions, like melt. Her burst is basically cryo application or field. There's nothing special about her. Xiao, very niche. Does AoE anime damage, is a 5-star, prolong. Skill. He's actually very hard to generate. Anime particles, I forgot about that. But with a Xianling up there, he can basically do a lot more damage and get more particles. Rosaria, niche, but she can be worth it. She's an off-field cryo applicator. Her burst only does that. She's a 4-star polym user. Gunfei, I haven't built. Yula, I haven't built. Ayaka, I'm not sure about. I've just never been convinced by her kit. She's like a main DPS, but also has some DPS potential. Kujo Sora, niche. I think she just buffs extra damage. It works with Raiden for some reason. Toma, he's actually worth building as a shielder. 4-star Firepole long. Yeah, Aotaki niche. I got him when he first came out, he was good. Now he's just a bit sort of not great. And he pairs with Goro, he's a 5-star. He does a 5-star Claymore Geo. Skill does some geo damage, generates superlative strength, which increases his charge attack damage and speed. His charge attack is the main damage thing. Goro, nice burst does the geo infusion. Goro will increases damage, he's a 4-star bow user, geo. Scales off defense like Ito does, like Ito is actually quite durable, thinking about it. Goro will just buff its damage, increasing defense. he does it with both the skill and the burst. Don't have very niche. It just buffs cryo damage, so probably good with Furina, even Rifley later on. Genshin niche just buffs all anyone's damage really. And provides a shield. I hate to have built, but I've seen he's good as an anime damage. I don't know how to put him. Very terrible healer. I know niche. He can be a good electro damage now. He's 5-star. He's got a fun playstyle. I know that for sure. I don't know if it's worth building him for say Raiden or even like Fisher or something. Candice, I don't know enough about. Nilo, don't know enough about. Layla, Crow Shielder. Can be good. I think I need to hold his skill a while though. Can't remember what the burst does. Wonder is probably the most niche character on here. He pairs with Farazan, who we'll go into later. His skill is basically a better version of all of these movement characters. He floats in the air to do damage, that's his main purpose. He needs two type of elements, different types, which make him a bit weak. They're necessary for a damage bonus with his skill. He just throws out some animal attacks, and you need his animal specific artifacts, unfortunately. This burst does burst damage, ironically. This is a nuke, but not as strong as other nukes. He needs Frozen, which is a very annoying. Did I say that? He has a 5-star anime catalyst. I don't know. The Frozen 4-star bow anime. Very weird to build, very hard to use. But she's good for the anime damage bonus with her burst. Simply. Alhaven niche. I haven't gone to work, but I heard people can get into work. It's got a really complicated kit. He spawns chiseled mirrors, which infuse him with Dendro, who's a 5-star sword user. He can teleport with his skill and also get a chiseled mirror, I think. Get 2. His charge attack is 1, but on cooldown. He needs 3 of them up at all times to do most damage, and his burst also gives him 3 if he hasn't already got them. Also deals damage based on the amount there is. It stays alive for longer the more chisel mirrors there are. But you can only squeeze like one quick burst in between that, because it's like a weird kit with him. I generally don't recommend him as a danger damage dealer. Yo niche, she's good actually as a healer and danger applicator, but nothing else 4-star pot 1 danger. They are absolutely not. She's one of the worst 5-star banner characters to get. Mika, I don't know. I played COVID, don't know either. Bennet, I don't know either. Annoyingly, I don't know most of these. Mostly I heard is good. Charlotte, I heard is good. Let's just go through this quick. Rory, apparently not. Corin, I think can be good. Zedwin, no. Who likes her, and Cephas, no. Jesus. It's weird how many sort of bad / niche characters there are. When I think of characters that are accessible, like, only those top 2 really feel accessible to me. And work well together, ironically. There are characters I've built that I'm going to use in the future that are in the niche category, but yeah. Doesn't mean they're not recommended to build. It just means that they have specific uses. Or just not good enough for a newer player. Also, I could be wrong. I'm willing to have my mind changed on that. I'm hoping this helps some people. I think it's pretty involved to put this out there. I consider doing something like this one graph story, I'm not sure, because I don't know the game well enough yet. Yeah, that's the list. It helps.